Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Good afternoon, Steve. Welcome back to Friday at 4. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Absolutely.
It's been a very good week, very productive week, which we'll get to in a second.
Awesome.
How was yours? I heard you were out looking. Was it this week that you were out looking at different places, taking videos, doing some really cool stuff? Give us a quick synopsis on what you do.
Yeah, so I posted a little short video on social media about this month. It's a little surprise. I haven't said much about it, but this month, Chasing the Stars tasted and rated version is
Mm,
diners. And we
cool.
actually tasted French toast out of three
Oh,
diners.
nice.
Yeah, so the results are pretty shocking.
Huh.
And if you look at the pictures that were in that post, and anybody that's watching this, you look at the pictures, you would think that one picture is like, wow, that had to be the winner. It's clearly not the winner.
Wow.
Clearly not the winner.
Looks can be deceiving.
Yes, and that's it. That's why I do what I do, right?
Mhm.
Because you combine service with food, with what people say online to these businesses, right? You put
Got
all
it.
that together and you'd be surprised, because food
Mm,
looks ugly. Service might be great. The food might be great, right?
true,
Presentation
true.
sometimes isn't everything, but you want it to be something. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's been a very busy week. I'm still working on
Good.
getting the files together, but I'm excited about this one. This is I'm gonna like
Mm,
this one. This is good. Thanks for asking.
nice,
Appreciate it.
nice. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it was busy because on Tuesday, the local, and I live in Queens, New York, and it's a very populated town, and the local chamber is, I believe it's thousands of members. It's huge, very active, very good chamber, and they had 140 vendors, of which I was one, and 2,000 people walked through in a 4 hour time frame. So it was packed, and I got some really good connections and stuff. So yeah, it was a really good week. So
Wow.
tiring, but a really good week. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, great. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
it's the weeks
yeah.
are getting like more busier, and the days are being filled, and it's interesting.
But it's so before we get into this topic, I'll just give you one quick one based on what you just said. It's great to be busy, but don't mistake busy for being productive.
1,000%. I
You can
love
be
that.
busy doing all kinds of silly stuff, but is it
Yeah,
helping your business? Is it helping you? Is it making you money? Is it putting you in a position to make money?
yeah,
Or are you doing nice to haves just because it feels good?
right. I'm glad you said that, right? Because when I first started this adventure, when I changed my mindset from just straight up mystery shopping to chasing the stars, if you look at my first video and you look at what I'm doing now, it is like night and day.
Hmm,
I have grown so much
good.
and I'm loving it. And this last episode, the latest one's even going to be even better because I'm learning,
Good.
right? I'm
Right.
learning how to film. I'm learning how to add things into the production. I'm
Hmm.
not a director. I'm not an actor. I'm just a guy who has a business that's trying to do something. But it's amazing to see progress. And by you saying that, busy and productive, while I was busy, I didn't realize how productive I was really being by just doing what I was doing because I felt like I was spinning wheels for all that time. Yeah,
Part of it's a learning curve,
yeah,
or it should be a learning curve.
yeah,
If you're taking it as nice to have, I'm going to keep doing it, nice to have. But if you're
yeah,
taking it as I'm doing it to learn to be better, then
yeah.
it's okay because you, like you said, you got that much better. Took a little bit of time, probably a lot of energy, a few choice words, but you got to where you want to go. But that's a good thing,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
And I love my progression with this, right? Because
Mm,
I'm hoping. more people start watching and people start liking and commenting and, starting to follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel, so I really think I've got something here and I really think this can take off. I love what I'm doing. And when I talk about the people, they love it as well. So,
So I'm going to make one small change to what you just said. You don't have to hope. By doing the right thing and getting it out there, people will follow your YouTube channel. They will get there. They will see it. It will spread. So,
yeah,
don't go hope because what you're doing is so good and so valuable that people will.
yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah. We've known each other, I don't know, give or take a year, give or take. Um, and I'm not saying this just because I'm looking at you when we're on TikTok Live and all this stuff, but I've seen you grow and I've seen you make that progression, like you said, galaxies apart, and you
yeah,
are definitely on that upward trajectory to get to that point where you are about to explode and be recognized and everything else. So don't stop,
yeah,
keep going.
yeah. Yeah, I had a dream about this the other night. And, while my stress level has been a little high with some personal things that have been going on, not because of the business, but yet I'm dreaming about the business. So to me, that's a good thing. You know, I'm dreaming about the business. So,
Hmm. Agreed. Agreed.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Good
So,
stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff.
So let's get back on
So
track, man. We're
I'll
going to
give
get
my
on your
standard.
subject. What's that?
Yeah. So I'm going to give my little disclaimer that we give every week. Just two guys being real, not sponsored, telling everybody what we think from our experiences. We're not looking to sugarcoat. This is the way it is. So that's it. So let me just say that. Okay. So having said all that, um, today's topic that we're just going to pull out of a hat because it sounds, and it is something really, really important. Whether you have a solo business, or you're a solopreneur, or a small business with a small staff, or a multi-billion dollar huge business, there are certain things that need to be done for sustainability of that business. Now, I know that's a very vague statement, so let's go through a couple of examples. And we're going to call this topic, and some birdie told me what to call this. The birdie happened to have been you, but it's called Crisis Proof Your Business. I love the title, so that's what we used. So thank you for that. And there's a whole bunch of topics we're going to go through kind of quickly because there's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them. So one of the things that needs to be considered to crisis proof the business is the staff, is the talent. So if whether you're a specialized business or more generic, you need people
Yeah.
because technology is good, but you still need people to do certain
Hmm.
things. So
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
people side, cross train your people and make sure, I'm sorry, but I just hit something and I got to bring you back. There we go. Sorry. Um, so cross train the staff. Number one, if somebody should leave, you want to make sure that that particular function can still get done.
Yeah.
But also, the more people can do, the more they know, the more secure they are that if things get tight, they're going to be safe because they can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
And I know when I was in the workforce in corporate America for years, and I remember my father always saying to me, the more you can do, the better potential you have for staying in that job if they start reducing staff. You
Hmm.
may not make more money, but having the salary is better than not having the salary.
Yeah.
So yeah, do a little more, but at least you have it. The
Right.
other thing, the other thing is when it comes to talent, and you hear all these stories about we have a key person in the company. But does that key person help to bring in a customer, a vendor with better pricing, a
Mhm.
something? And while it may be good, if that key person goes away and you lose that customer or that preferred vendor, what's going to be the damage to your business?
Yeah.
So while I understand the value of a key person, do you really want that? Or maybe you want multiple key people
Yeah.
so that
You
if you
know,
lose one, you don't lose it all.
yeah, to tie off that real fast, back when I worked for a testing company briefly,
Hmm.
and when they hired me, they had no training period.
Mm.
Now I'm coming as a supervisor. No training.
Mm.
They didn't show me anything. They handed me a laptop and said, "Here, figure it out." So I'm running around the floor trying to figure this out, worked with reps, other supervisors. I personally came up with a standard operating procedure that I created a document. So if you became a supervisor, I emailed you this. Here you go. You knew everything,
Yep.
you know?
That's the smart
So
thing to do.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't work there no more, and they kept that SOP. I should have took it myself and said, "Give me $1,000,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever." But I did that for whoever's going to come behind me, and it worked.
Correct. And
You
that's what
know,
it's supposed to be. There should be an operating manual that if a new
yeah,
person comes in, they can sit down, read the manual, take a little time to get up to speed, but it avoids that full blown training where now you're taking one or more people away from their regular job to train the
yeah,
new person and work suffers. So I think
yeah,
what you did is great.
yeah.
All right. The next, and this is in no order whatsoever. The next item that I wrote down is from the technology side. So a lot of companies say, I'm going to bring in a particular internet provider, let's say Verizon or AT&T or whoever you're using. And it's great because you want to take a name because in theory they're more reliable. But what happens if they go down
Which
for
they
whatever
do,
reason? So
right?
a lot of companies, a lot of big companies have multiple line. Yes, there is a cost to it to bring in multiple providers. But think about the cost of the extra one or two lines you're going to bring in for the internet versus not having your business because your systems are down.
Yeah,
So again, trade off, but look at the bigger picture. Is your overall business, especially, let's say you're in the financial space and you're working on something with the market
yeah,
and you go down, good luck.
yeah,
Your reputation, the liability, you can be out of business.
yeah.
So from an
And quick.
internet and quick.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
from an internet perspective, have that second, possibly third, depending on, what kind of business and how big and all that stuff.
yeah,
Um, Also consider, and again, small cost, but it might be something to consider, have a few extra computers with parts just in case somebody's dies in the middle and they have to be on the computer. Um, if it drops, coffee spilled on it, something. So have an extra computer or a couple of computers. Um, when it comes also on the technology side, backups. So everything you do, sometimes people back up once a week, once a night. Sometimes it's real time backup. Have the backup, but never have the backup on site. Always have the backup in another location, either another building, ideally another city. Because if you're in climate sensitive or whatever, if you have all your eggs, it's the proverbial all your eggs in one basket type stuff, and something happens, you're in trouble. So it doesn't cost a lot, but again, consider having your business and not having your business. Um, the other thing that from a crisis proof is make sure that you implement and get a reputable cybersecurity firm.
I know we talked about that in an episode not too long ago.
We
This was
did.
a it was a big
We
topic for
did.
us. Yeah,
It's very important. Now,
yeah,
having said that, I know several people, and I do not do this, but there are several people I know who offer cybersecurity insurance. Now, many business owners believe that if you have cybersecurity insurance and you get hacked, they will make you whole. Not the case.
oh my,
Because you may have the insurance, but based on federal and state laws, which again, I am not the expert, but based on federal and state laws, there are certain things you must do on a daily basis, training the staff, having the backups, doing all those things and log it and back up, copies and records. And so the cybersecurity insurance will pay only if all that other stuff has been done. Yeah.
that's
And I
crazy.
got this from a few people who sell cybersecurity insurance, and they say they tell their clients all the time, I can sell you this stuff all day long. I'm going to get a great commission. Again, not me, this is these other people. You can make a great commission because again, it's not cheap, but again, it's the reputation, it's the company. But
Sure.
if you don't do all those things, they're not going to pay you.
Yeah,
So again, things to think about. Um,
yeah,
Contingency planning. So if something should happen to your physical location, do you have a backup location? So if your building has a fire, are you out of business? So have a backup location with a backup set of computers and a backup internet and maybe housing for your certain percentage of your key people, so you can shift and go somewhere else and be up and running until you can figure out how to get back into a full operation. But at least you can maintain business, service your better customers. As sad
pack
as
up,
this may
pack up
sound,
the office, boys. We're going to McDonald's today.
yeah, but
I
as
mean,
sad as it,
hey,
yeah, I mean, as sad as it may sound, if I'm a big client and I'm giving you a lot of business and
yeah,
you have an issue and you don't have a backup plan,
yeah,
my loyalty to you is about that quick and I'm gone for somebody else and I will not come back to you.
you got it.
So is it worth it? Sure. Is it a cost? Sure. But
Right.
again, think bigger picture. And again, I get it. If you're a small company, this could be costly and stuff. But again, consider being in business or being out of business.
Yeah,
Um, Talk about communications. The same way we have multiple internet connections or internet, not connections, but internet providers coming in. If you have a landline, do you have different communications companies? Do you have the Verizon, the AT&T, the T-Mobile, or whoever that you're using? Do you have those just in case one goes down, another one kicks in?
right.
So think about that. Um, from the financial side, do you have or do you need extra cash on hand? Again, somewhere else. Do you have a line of credit big enough? Is it from two different places? Because again, I could have two lines of credit, but if one bank is inoperable, can I go to the other bank or wherever you're getting it from? So again,
Right.
lines of credit. Um, do you have one main product or do you have multiple product lines in case something happens to the logistics supply chain,
Yeah,
your logistics, your pricing, um, change in laws, some lawsuit, have multiple business lines. Okay, there are companies that are in clothing and food and real estate and auto. They're totally unrelated, but what they're doing is they're giving you different lines of revenue in case one goes away or slows down. You're still employing people, you're still making money, you're still doing the right thing. So,
Right.
you know, that's got to be something too. Um, let's see, what do I have here? I think I might have talked about this before from a client dependency. Part of what needs to be looked at, and when I was in corporate, we did this all the time. You have one or multiple products that you offer. Now, somewhere there has to be a system that tracks the revenue coming in, because obviously you want to make sure you're having more revenue than expenses. Makes sense. That's why you stay in business, right? But
Yeah.
there also needs to be something that says how much revenue and expenses are for each client. So you could have 10 really small clients and one very large client. And you say, I'm going to focus on the large client because they're big, I'm getting more revenue.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful because based on the financial system you have, it may give you more revenue, but the associated expenses may be higher than your revenue. So, yes, it's your biggest client, but you're losing money.
Losing money. Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
have to have those reports constantly customer mix, um, revenue per, expenses per, and net per. You may find out your 10 smaller ones are in a better position than the one big one. Then you got to figure out how do I get the big one profitable or get rid of it because you're
That's an interesting
losing
point
money.
that you bring up. That's an interesting point that you bring up. I don't mean to cut in on this, but you know, eh, you say you got 10 small clients and you have one big one. And
Mm.
if you don't really pay attention, those 10 smaller clients may be the ones that are generating the revenue for you. So, an example of crisis mode is you lose that big client and you go, oh no, the business is going to go under. I'm going to have to cut staff until you really look at the numbers and go, oh, wait a minute. That's okay. Joe Schmo's company's gone. We weren't really making money with
Yep.
them anyway. Here's where our money is. The crisis mode's been averted because, well, we had great numbers, we had great books. We looked at the reports and we found that, oh, while that happened, we just found out a better way to make revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's not the way you want to find out, but you found out. And the
That's
sooner you
called
find out, the
crisis mode.
better.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And,
That's
and it's
crisis
important.
mode.
It is
Yeah.
important, you know.
Yeah.
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 Another one I have on here is reputation management.
Oh, yeah.
If
Huge.
something happens, how do you, and we all know that not every company is 100% perfect 100% of the time. It just
Yeah.
doesn't, it's impossible. Okay. There's too
Yeah.
many factors going on. You try your best,
Yeah.
but there's no guarantee because there's so many things happening.
Yeah.
So if something does happen, what are your one or multiple steps to get back the reputation?
Yeah.
You know, do you go out to Google reviews and Yelp and whatever else you would know better than me? What, all those different places that do the reviews.
Yeah.
Where are the reviews coming? Again, I don't know, you can really track this, but if you can, where are the reviews coming from? What are they saying? How quickly do you monitor the reviews to see if you get a bad one? How do
Yeah.
you
And that's
respond
just,
back to it?
yeah. Yeah. And that's what's cool about what I do. I offer the RMS snapshot for every smaller business. So I put that together, Google, Facebook, and Yelp, and I show you what's happening out there versus what we're finding. So it's a whole other way to look at how to,
Yep.
crisis proof your business.
It's crisis proof because as good as a business owner might be, there's so many hours in a day and there's so many things that they're doing, they may not have the time to look themselves or the money to hire a staff to look for them.
Yeah. I had an example of that earlier. I was talking to a woman who went to a cheesesteak company
Hmm.
and the owner had no idea what was being said online about his business. He was so thankful for her when he sat down and looked at that, he gave her a
Hmm.
free sub,
Wow.
and said, "Thank you for opening my eyes." I'm like, well, he needs to hire a company like me.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's so
Yes.
important to know what people are saying. Now, I mean, I know um, only because I had a very small exposure to it on the restaurant side,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. It was a really good restaurant, and all of a sudden they started getting a couple of bad reviews a week, and it started to continue and continue and continue. Like, where is this coming from? Because every customer that was coming into the restaurant was always complimenting, leaving the bigger tips for the wait staff. I mean, they were repeat customers. They're trying to figure out where this is coming from. And they did some kind of investigation. They found out it was their competitor.
Yep.
So you have to look, you have to know it. Now, whatever
Yep.
legal action they took, I don't know
Of
if
course.
if you can,
Yeah.
but
You can.
because again, it's free to do what you want. So
Yeah.
and again, I don't know how the end result, but if the faster you know that stuff, reputation management.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that people may not think about, although I think you kind of have to, but people may not take it seriously, is this thing called fire drills.
Yeah.
I know, again, I was in New York for a lot of years in those big buildings, and every so often you had fire drills. You had to
Yeah.
go to the staircase, you had to go down to another level, you had to get out of the building, you had to do different things. And the fire department showed up, and you had to do that. And other people like, no, what am I doing this for? I'm tired. I'm not getting out of my chair. Oh, you got out of your chair. You had no choice. You got out of your
You
chair.
didn't have a choice.
But but it's for the safety of the people, the building. If the fire alarm goes off, I know the classic example, and this is it's not great, but it's a reality. In February 26, 1992, which I will never forget, I was in Tower One in the city when the bomb hit, and that day I was working on something in the mortgage industry at that point, and that day a certain report with data was due to the Fed, which was a couple of blocks, because again, New York, so it was a couple of blocks away. And I had to bring a disk to the Fed. And when the bomb hit and the building shook, the first and I did nobody told me to do this, but something up here kicked in. And the first thing I did was I popped the disk out of the computer. And a couple hours later, when I got downstairs, thankfully I got downstairs, I made my way covered in smoke. I made my way 2 blocks away to the Fed Reserve and I gave in the disk. They looked at me going, "You are nuts to be here." And I said to them, "Okay, so let me ask you this question. Understanding what just happened, if I didn't bring this disk in, I'm not going to tell you who I worked for at the time because I don't want to bring a name up. But
Right.
I
Right.
said, so if I don't bring this disk in, you're going after the bank because the data wasn't here." And the
Yeah.
person behind the desk goes, "You're right."
Yeah.
So yes, I was nuts, but reaction, fire drill, reaction, grab the disc because I knew it had to go in that day and I
Yeah.
got it done. But
That's
again,
amazing.
this is a whole list of things that sometimes people think about, sometimes they don't. It
Yeah.
depends on, again, experience,
Yeah.
budget. I was going to say manpower, but person power. I'm trying to get,
Person.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
everybody in there, right?
People
Um,
power.
Thank you, people power. Um,
Right.
but that's what it is. And
Yeah.
yeah, and you really have to take it seriously because it takes, unless you get handed a business, which some people do, and that's okay. I'm not saying yes or no, but
Yeah.
whether you get handed a business or you have to build a business to maintain is a very time consuming, expensive, nerve wracking procedure or procedures that
Yeah.
have to get done.
Yeah.
And in a heartbeat, it can be gone.
Yeah.
And
Split
everything
second.
you worked for,
Yeah.
your staff, your families. You
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. My backup of my business is in my firebox. Yeah.
But even my comment to you is, if at some point you have an opportunity, find an offsite something, put it in
Yeah.
a bank, in a safe deposit
Give a
box,
copy to my daughter.
do something. Yeah,
Yeah.
get it out.
Yep.
Just to
Give
be
a
on the
copy
safe
to my
side, because
daughter, like I said. Yeah. Yep.
yeah. But even if you have like electronic stuff, put it on the cloud.
Yeah. Yep.
Have some backup just in case.
You got
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but that's my
See,
point.
great list.
So again,
Great. Yeah. Great
yeah,
list. Great podcast. I
yeah,
think, it's
yeah.
not an all-inclusive list, obviously. There could be
Oh
things
no,
we
no,
missed.
definitely not. But
And if,
yeah,
anybody that's watching, they want to, throw up some, I don't know, comments there on this podcast, they can
yeah,
want to add to the list for us of things that they thought of,
yeah,
by
yeah,
all means do it. I think
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a great start for any
It
business.
it's a way, again, of all the stuff that we share. It's
Mhm.
not the most exciting topic. I get
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
again, the goal of what we do is to add value.
And this episode would get people to think too, right? It makes you think like,
Yeah, right,
wow, do I have a backup? Do I have a contingency plan if the building has a water leak, the sprinklers go off? There's so many
right,
different
right.
variables that can happen
Yeah,
that people don't really think
we
about.
didn't do anything about water. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great point. What if the
yeah,
sprinkler system goes off?
yeah, yep. So I mean, there's
Yeah,
so many things. So yep,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, awesome. Steve loved it.
yeah,
Great man.
yeah, yeah.
Another great
It's just,
podcast.
yeah, it's interesting. It keeps me thinking too. So, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah. So again, thanks for coming back on Friday at 4 because
absolutely. It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
we work like somewhere. I love it. Yeah. What a
At least
great
I
day.
think so. Anyway.
Yeah. What a great day. What a great week it's been. Another great topic. I think as we dive into these topics, these podcasts, I like that we're finding different things to really talk to people about and how to really everything's to help them, help people out. Love it.
Mhm. As something they want us to delve into,
Yeah,
please let us know. Our phone numbers are on the screen. Um, Let us know. We're here to help and to add value to you. That's why we're
absolutely.
here. Again, we're not getting paid. We're doing this because we want to. We want
Yeah.
to add value. We want to help you. That's why
Yep.
we're doing this.
Yep.
So let
Yeah.
us help you.
Yep. We love what we do. Exactly. Steve, love it.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming
Yep,
on again. Thanks
absolutely.
for being consistent with me. I appreciate it.
You got
And
it.
yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely.
Everybody
Same here.
watching. Thanks for watching. Everybody
You
has a
too.
great weekend. And we'll chat soon, Steve.
Yep. You got it. Thanks, Chuck. Take care,
Take
everyone.
care, buddy.
Bye bye.
Take care, buddy. See ya.
You too. Take care.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.